Hello chess fans, this is Rick from Chess to Progress. To progress at chess you will need to study tactics, study endgames, study the classics from the past and the present and analyze your own games. On the Chess to Impress channel I have series on all 4 of these topics. You can check them out in the playlists. This is number 6 in this series, Classics. Well, it is a modern classic, played by the Hungarian Grandmaster Richard Rapport. And for the analysis I make use of what Grandmaster Judit Polgar, also from Hungary, has written about this game. She was Rapport's team captain when this game was played. And if you haven't heard of Judit Polgar, she's the strongest female player in the history of the game. This is the list of the youngest Grandmasters in history, and you can see Richard Rapport there on number 8. He became Grandmaster when he was 13 years old, 11 months and 6 days. In the Olympiad in Tromsø in Norway in 2014, Richard Rapport played a game that is typical for his style according to Judit Polgar. Let's have a look at the game. It was played in the match Hungary versus the USA, and black was Alexander Onyszuk from the US. White Rapport, black Onyszuk. B3, a move that Rapport likes to play in the first move. The Larsen opening, it is called, and it's quite rare at Grandmaster level, but Rapport is a very original player and he had played it twice in the Tata Steel tournament earlier that year, so it must not have come as a surprise for Onyszuk. He must have prepared it and he played e5. Bishop b2, the logical second move, knight c6, e3, knight f6 and bishop b5. White is now threatening to take on c6. And that will mean that the pawn on e5 is unprotected and then he can take that pawn with his bishop. So that is the threat. Onyszuk plays bishop d6 to protect the pawn again. And knight a3, which looks odd, developing the knight to the side of the board. But it is the main line of theory. And this knight wants to go to c4 to put extra pressure on the e5 pawn. a6 was played by Onyszuk, Rapport took, d takes, and there comes knight c4 as planned, attacking the pawn on e5 twice. Queen e7, protecting the pawn on e5 again. a4, and here's a word of caution, don't try to copy Rapport's play, don't try to play like him. Not many people can play like Rapport. His style is very unorthodox, and if you are a beginning or improving player, don't try to play like this, because you will find out that it's not as easy as Rapport makes it look in this game. Onyszuk castled. a5. Bishop g4 attacking the queen. Knight interposing. Knight d7. And here Rapport castled. And Judit Polgar writes that if White was allowed to play e4, this move, then he would get a favorable version of the Ruy-Lopez delayed exchange variation, an opening that starts with e2, e4 and then e7, e5 from black. And it's amazing how chess openings can transpose into each other from completely different openings. The comments by Judit Polgar, by the way, are in the magazine New in Chess, and I took the comments from there. e4 was played by Onyszuk to avoid White playing e4. So black wants to avoid that Ruy-Lopez structure. But now this bishop comes to life. The diagonal has opened up. And as we'll see, White will also get a strong and mobile center. Rapport took on d6. Onyszuk took back with the pawn. And f3. Hitting the bishop, so that pawn was taken. And then g takes f3. White is not afraid of his weakened king's position. He had calculated everything well. But now he has this strong pawn center. Bishop h3 was played by Onyszuk. Rook f2, take the rook out of the attack. And if you play in a primitive way, you could look at queen g5 check here. See if you can get an attack going. King in the corner. And then you could play knight e5, because f4 is not an option. Looks strong for a second with that fork. I'm just showing a variation here. But then knight g4 can be played, and if you take the queen, knight takes f2 check, wins the queen back. So let's go back. We played queen g5 check, we put the king in the corner, we played knight e5, and now it's not good to play f4 as we just saw, but queen g1 is a perfectly okay move, and white does not have to be afraid of those 3 attacking black pieces. He has enough defenders around. Onischuk decided not to play queen g5 check, he played knight e5 first. That knight was kicked with f4. If you now go to g4, attacking the rook, there's rook f3, hitting the bishop. You can play queen h4 to protect the bishop, but then after queen e1, white has a good position. So after f4, Onischuk did not go to g4 with his knight, he went to g6. f5 by Rapport, queen g5 check, and if you now go to h1 with the king, that's not good, because then the bishop will take that pawn on f5. You've lost that important pawn. But instead of king h1, Rapport played knight g3 here. Now the knight is attacked on g6, of course, so black has to do something about that, and he played knight e5. And here comes a nice move from Rapport, which was also liked a lot by Judit Polgar. Rook a1 to a4, developing the rook from the side. And Polgar writes, she loves it when all of a sudden rooks come into play from the side. Onischuk played bishop g4, and Rapport played queen f1. That queen was attacked by the bishop. And as Polgar writes, with seemingly simple means, white has obtained an advantage on practically the entire board. And that is true. If you look at the position, you see that all white's pieces are playing. Black still has 2 inactive rooks on the back rank, but all white's pieces are nicely positioned. And Polgar says here that left without a constructive plan and facing the threat of an attack starting with f5, f6, Onischuk immediately blunders. Because he played, probably to avoid f5, f6, he played f6 himself. And that is a blunder because it opens up this diagonal, as we'll see. Rapport didn't miss it. He took on e5. And of course you have to take that piece back. Well, Onischuk did not take it back. He resigned here. But if you take back with the d pawn or the f pawn, it doesn't really matter. Then there is queen c4 check. It is check. And it's a double attack because you're also attacking the bishop with both queen and rook, and it's only defended by the queen. So after king h8, queen takes g4, white has won a piece, and at Grandmaster level this is more than enough to resign the game. There's no compensation for the piece. Wonderful game from Rapport. He made it look easy. Not many people can play like him. Hope you enjoyed this video on the young Hungarian Grandmaster. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the Chess to Progress channel. Please leave a comment, and if you liked the video, it would be great if you could share it on social media. You also may want to check out my Chess to Impress channel. The link is in the description box. This is Rick for Chess to Progress. Thank you for watching.